Hi everyone, I thought I would make a video about all of the books that I've read so far this year. I was intending to do this every month like I used to, but I didn't. That's all I can say about that. I have read 9 books and it's Thursday the 27th of February as I film this, so I'm not going to read another book in however many days. 1 day is left of the month, so yeah, 9 books in the first 2 months of the year, which is pretty good. The first book that I read, I'm just going to get into this, was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I picked this up at the book swap that we have near us and I have re-swapped it. So I'll pop a picture up. This book is about a chemist called Elizabeth Zott, and she is a sort of unusual, single-minded person, and she meets the love of her life, and it's sort of about their relationship and also other relationships she's had and her work, and it's sort of romance. There's a lot of stuff in it about like feminism. There's a lot looking at what things were like in the 60s when it's set. How women were viewed and how a woman like this would have sort of existed. It's got brilliant characters, very, very readable. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. If you want to follow me on Goodreads, the link is below. It was a really enjoyable, sort of had a lot of things that I enjoy. Science, yes. Strong female protagonist, yes. A dog, also yes. So I really liked that book. It was fun, would definitely recommend it. The next book that I read was Our Song by Dani Atkins. So this book is about 2 women called Charlotte and Ali, and they end up in a hospital together where both of their husbands are ill, and the women run into each other and they're like, oh, I don't like you, we have all this past. So it starts going through all of their past, all the things that happened, and Ali previously went out with Charlotte's husband. So there's all this sort of past experience and interactions that they go through. And it was very readable. I will say that the writing style was very good, but I only gave this book 2 stars. The reason being, more than anything else, I think, that the ending infuriated me. You could see it coming about 300 miles away. And also, it was too long. It was just too long. It's 500 pages. It's too long for a romance, too much conversations. And as I got closer to the end, I can remember reading it in bed and saying to my husband, oh, the ending had better not be what I think it is. And I got to the end and I basically just threw it across the room and went, nope. Not, it was just, yeah, good writing, but too maybe contrived, and yeah, not a fan. The next one was, I don't have this one, One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The reason I don't have this is I lent it to my mother-in-law, and this one is about a woman called Emma who marries this guy called Jesse, and they are just desperately in love. They are, just perfect for each other, just absolutely obsessed with each other. And then Jesse passes away. So Emma has to rebuild her life, and it sort of covers that experience and where she is now. And what I liked about this book, I think emotionally it was really, really good, really well written. You really feel for her. I think that was really well done. An absolute page turner. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the character kind of evolution throughout it, and I liked how it was all resolved. I gave it 4 stars, not 5, and that was because there was just one element of it that I thought was a bit unbelievable and just a bit, yeah, I was like, kind of wish that plot line had been a little different. I don't want to say because it's spoilers, but yeah, there was just one element that I was like, I know that often in these kinds of books, there are extraordinary things, but yeah, I don't know. There was just one little thing. I thought it's a good read, 4 stars. Just not a fave. If it's 5 stars are just for the very, very best books. It was good, but not 5 stars good. The next one was Crazy Rich Asians by Kwan. I didn't finish it. DNF that one. I picked it up somewhere because I know that it was really popular and I wanted to give it a go. I haven't seen the film. And I kept picking it up. You know when you're just like, I will read it. And I'd read a few pages and be like, okay, I kind of remember who the characters are, fine. And then I'd abandon it again. And it was putting me into a reading slump. So I wasn't doing what I usually do of going, I will not read another book until I finish this. I was cheating on Crazy Rich Asians. And in the end, after several months, I just went, I'm not going to read this. So that's what happened with that one. DNF that one. Right, next one was Dreamland by Rosa, Rankin. I'm going to guess it's G, but it might be Gee. And this was so interesting. I've given it 4 stars, but this has, I don't think it is a 5 stars, maybe 4.5. So this is about a girl called Chance. And at the beginning of the book, Chance is living in London, and then her mum is given some money to incentivize her to move to the coast. So they move to Margate. And this is set in the future. It's a dystopian future. Love a dystopia. And I live not that far from Margate. And so I really enjoyed the local references to places that I knew. And as things kind of get worse, that was interesting as well, as they'd go to a place and it would be not how it is now. And it's got so many things in it about society. And so there's the sea levels are rising, so there's environmental stuff. Socially speaking, you know, Chance, they're not wealthy people. They're in like social housing. They've been moved out to the coast. And then they're not treated very well, and there's all this stuff that happens. And what's really interesting is at the back of the book there's then newspaper article headlines proving that these things, similar things, have happened and that it's not far-fetched, you know. So I thought it was amazing characters, really interesting concept. I am somewhere between 4 and 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. It's inclusive. It's, yeah, give it a go. It's one of those where I think it's a bit unusual. So you're either going to love it or you hate it. But I really liked it. Next one, I must have charity shopped it. I don't remember. Breathtaking, Inside the NHS in a Time of Pandemic. I got this from the book swap again. I might have just swapped it again. I don't remember. And I picked this up in no small part because on the front cover, there was a tagline from Michael Rosen. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I fondly refer to him as Uncle Mick, even though he is in no way related to me. I've met him once, and I got a bit overexcited. So Uncle Mick said that it was a good book. So I thought, well, you know, if Uncle Mick says it's good, it must be. And Michael Rosen has written about the pandemic, and I love his books about the pandemic. I think they're beautiful. So I thought, well, if he likes this, I'm going to like this. And it's the account of a nurse during COVID based on her notes that she took at the time. And it's fascinating to look at how quickly everything changed, the sort of political stance, what was being said, what was put in place, what was in the media, and how quickly it starts in January, and I think it only runs through till something like July or August, and just this very, very fast, I forget sometimes. I think it all feels a bit otherworldly. So really, really interesting. Obviously, heartrending. She has accounts in there of people that she's met and treated and spoken to and things like that. So it's beautiful, it's interesting, very interesting to see it from the perspective of someone who works in healthcare. I don't personally know anyone who works in healthcare, so it wasn't a story I was hearing at the time other than in the media. So very, very interesting. Obviously, if this is something difficult to read for you, then that's worth bearing in mind. But for me, I feel like I'm reading bits and pieces about the pandemic because it's helping me to process a little bit, I think, and to, just put what happened into boxes, I think. So I enjoy reading about the pandemic, I have to say. 5 stars for me. I really enjoyed that. Next one up, The Year That Changed Everything by Cathy Kelly. So this is about 3 different women, Ginger, Sam and Callie, and they all have the same birthday. So Ginger is turning 30, Sam is turning 40, Callie is turning 50. Ginger is bridesmaid at her best friend's wedding. Sam is pregnant and going into labour. Callie is having a big party, and it turns out that her husband is a scumbag. And so you then follow from that initial it's our birthday and what we're doing on our birthday throughout the year afterwards, and how their stories go, how they change as people, and how they interact. It was readable. Like, it's one of those holiday read, kind of pleasant, whatever. But for me, none of the characters really had enough substance. You could have followed one of these women, but trying to follow all 3, none of them were fleshed out enough, in my opinion. And there were lots of things that were too stereotypical. Ginger, there were elements about all of them that I wasn't keen on. Labour, it was one of those where like her water's broke and she's like, oh my God, I'm in labour. Absolutely not how labour works. And things that happened. So some things were good and it looked at like mental health and stuff. And other things were just really like, it's not like that. Or certainly not in my experience or the experience of people that I know. And I kind of move in those circles because I do breastfeeding support. It just, it was a bit stereotypical and just a sort of easy, fluffy read. And I think with what had happened to the women, didn't need to be a fluffy read. And I think there were certain things that just didn't, you're like, no, it was all right. It was readable. I didn't hate it, but didn't love it. Sorry if that's moved. My battery ran out. Anyway, the next book that I read was The Good Mother Myth, Unlearning Our Bad Ideas About How to Be a Good Mum by Nancy Reddy. I had a digital version of this as a review copy. I review books for the Association of Breastfeeding Mothers magazine every now and again, and so that's what I was doing. And I really loved this book. It's about, I'm wondering how many stars I gave it. Let's have a look. So Nancy Reddy is an academic, and I gave it 4 stars. I feel like, again, that's like edging on a 5. It was good. So I might go back and change some of these. So Nancy Reddy is an academic, and she falls pregnant, and she's pregnant during her doctoral studies. And so there's some parts that are sort of memoir about, gosh, the lighting is weird in here, sorry. About her, the prejudices of like how it might affect her career in academia. And then the other part of the book, the more significant part of the book, is her exploring research about mothering. So she looks at various anthropologists and, researchers such as, I'm trying to remember the names. There's Harry Harlow, who's the guy, if you're familiar with any of this kind of research, who I'd heard this one before, where he had cloth monkeys who he made mothers for baby monkeys, and he investigated whether the cloth mother and hanging on to the cloth mother was sufficient, and then he made inferences from that about attachment parenting. So there was him. There's Dr. Spock, who's known obviously as an American pregnancy and parenting writer, and Margaret Mead, who did lots and lots of things but looked into parenting and sort of went and did research around the world. So it really examines how predominantly men in America have influenced what we think about mothering, and really how we've ended up with this idea that a mother is selfless, all giving, just absolutely dedicated to her children. And what that's meant in terms of women feeling they kind of can't live up to this, in guilt, in lots and lots of things around the mothering experience, and how she looks at the research and the flaws of the research, and she also looks at the researcher themselves and where some of their ideas might have come from, and she examines who their partners were and who their children were and what their family setup was. And for the men, in multiple occasions, their wives were very academic, but even though they contributed, they were either uncredited or ignored or whatever, and that they brought their own ideas into what they said, even though for most of these men, they actually weren't involved in bringing their children up at all. So yeah, very, very interesting in thinking about what a good mother is and how it's a myth. And just you can't live up to it, and actually how we need to look at things more nuanced. And Nancy Reddy really skillfully talked about the research, the researcher, and her own experience, and interwove all of that, and it was really well done. It's quite, maybe I gave it 4 stars rather than 5. It's quite dense in parts. That said, I read it, I didn't get bogged down in it, if you know what I mean. It was readable, but I feel like it is quite academic and researchy, but no, I really, really liked it. 4.5 stars, most likely for me. And then my last one, Above the Waterfall by Rash. And this is sat in an Appalachian town, and it's about 2 people, Les and Becky. Les is a, what's the word? Policeman in America. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Like sheriff guy, that's it. And Becky is a park ranger. And so it alternates between Les looking at kind of what's going on in the town and the intrigues and mysteries and an issue around this waterfall, and Becky, who is this sort of really traumatized person, and she writes bits of poetry and how their sort of relationship. Couple of things with this, I only gave it 2 stars. So first of all, this might seem stupid, but normally when you read a book that's in 2 perspectives, the chapter, it has their name, or there's something to denote the 2 different people. This doesn't, they just alternate. It took me a good 5 chapters to fully understand that it was 2 different people, because I'd just been really confused of like, sorry, what now? And who are you? What? I don't understand. That might just be me and not properly focusing. But I really struggled with that not being clear. So perhaps that's just me. The characters are good and very, it says on the front something, or can create a character in a single sentence. I'd agree with that. Characters are really good. I just didn't follow the plot that well. I think there were numerous characters and not that many. Do you know what? Honestly, I think it just wasn't my thing. And I think it's good. I think it's well written. It's quite, it has a tone to it. It has the writing is beautiful, and it has a very almost relaxed tone. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it really. But it just wasn't for me. I think that's the thing. I think it's a good book, but it wasn't for me. And maybe it literally was that I was turned off, that I'm like, who is this? What's going on? And how do they know? And who? I just need things to be a bit clearer, because I don't concentrate enough for anything otherwise. Those are my slightly questionable reviews of those 9 books. As always, it's completely just my opinion and subjective. If you think that any of these books sound interesting, give them a go. And please do recommend anything that you think I would like. Thanks for watching, and I will continue to share what I'm reading. I'm really enjoying reading. I'm back in a reading phase. And yeah, I'll see you all soon for another video. Take care.